Dedicated fans of the Portland Timbers will all be wearing hoodie sweatshirts.
Yeah, members of the Timbers Army are showing up at Saturday's march with hoodies in support of Trayvon Martin.
A co-owner of the San Francisco Giants is denouncing a racist political ad that he may have helped pay for. In a statement of his own, Johnson said, "I had absolutely no knowledge that this donation would be used in this manner, and I, like the Giants organization, strongly condemn any form of racism."
10 days after this flyer was found on the property, it shows ultra-right-wing radio host Alex Jones. Black tape with the Jewish star covers his mouth as if he is being silenced. On the left and right of Jones are two caricatures of Jewish men. The flyer references the Daily Stormer, identified by the Anti-Defamation League as a neo-Nazi website.
I came here tonight feeling a bit nervous, whether it's for a mean spirit or just as a joke or whatever. It really has no place in this community.
The Anti-Defamation League reports that over the next week, that same flyer began showing up at other East Bay synagogues. The ADL says it's not going to name them, but the flyers showed up in at least 4 temples.
All this hatred and bigotry and racism is coming from the top, and it makes it okay, even in our small little towns. And I think it's very, very sad.
Temple Beth Shalom released a statement saying they are taking security measures to protect congregants during the high holidays. Quote, "These hate groups stand for the opposite of our values of love and inclusivity. We are fortunate to have a warm and close-knit community that will not be cowed by attempts to intimidate."
Oregon State University, home of the Beavers, and some questionable buildings, 4 to be exact. They include Benton Hall, named after a white supremacist, Avery Lodge, named after a man who owned a pro-slavery newspaper, the Arnold Dining Center, named after a former Confederate soldier turned OSU president, and the Gill Coliseum, named after a longtime basketball coach who student protesters claim refused to integrate his all-white team. He says because of these racist concerns, a committee was created to do a historical review of the buildings.
People in Pleasanton used to turn to a popular Facebook page for their fix of community news. But in recent days, that page has become a target for racist rants.
But earlier this week, a photo taken from the internet was posted of a heavily armed man in traditional Arab clothing mowing his lawn. It included a joke caption, but not everyone thought it was funny. For days now, the site has become a battlefield between people who object to the posting and those who think they're being too politically correct. And the fight has become quite personal, with a lot of name-calling. One reason it continues is because the offending post was actually made by the website's administrator. Sandy objected and has been banned from the site. And if you try to sign up for it now, you have to answer questions like, can you take a joke? And will you report something if you don't agree with it?
New at 6 calls for a rebranding of the San Francisco playground. It's the latest city landmark to come under scrutiny for its namesake's racist past. KPI X5's Julie Watts live at the Julius Kahn Playground in Presidio Heights. Could be in line for a name change. Julie?
That's right, Alan. You know, for many in San Francisco, the name Julius Kahn is actually synonymous with birthday parties and picnics and play dates. But for others, especially those in the Chinese community, it's synonymous with bigotry and racism, and they say it's time for a change. But Julius Kahn was actually known to be openly racist. He was a San Francisco congressman in the late 18 and early 1900s, and he championed the Chinese Exclusion Act, which barred Chinese immigration into the U.S. Citing the current political climate, Supervisor Norman Yee introduced a resolution urging the Rec and Park Commission to remove Julius Kahn's name from the park. It's the latest San Francisco landmark to face criticism over a racist namesake. Both Justin Herman Plaza and City College's Phelan Avenue are being renamed, a trend that got mixed but mostly positive reviews at Julius Kahn. Now, Yee notes that May is Asian American Heritage Month, and he says that a name change this month would be symbolic.
By all accounts, this year's Japanese Heritage Night with the San Jose Giants was a success. They had taiko drummers and calligraphy lessons, the works. But shortly afterward came this tweet of 3 men on the field dressed in traditional Japanese robes. The man on the left was doing martial arts kicks, the man in the middle was bowing with his palms together, and the one on the right was fanning himself. Whoa, San Jose Giants, you may want to rethink this, like, immediately. This is super racist and tacky. Casual Asian racism is still racism. The San Jose Giants need to correct this immediately.
If somebody's offended, you offended them, you know. You can't just pass it off and say, oh, I didn't mean it, I didn't know, Just give me a break.
Unfortunately, our message on social media was tone deaf, and we deeply apologize to those we have offended, and apologize that our content released on social media did not represent the intention and spirit of the event.
Does it change your opinion at all about the team?
No, I don't think so. I think it's a mistake, a minor mistake. Just hopefully they'll do better going forward.
It's so new there isn't even a sign hanging in front of the Saffron Colonial. And last Saturday, owner Sally Krantz came out from the kitchen and saw about 30 protesters outside her front door.
One woman was screaming at me about, the Native American issue. Somebody else was screaming about the fact that this whole area is gentrified and I shouldn't even have taken the premises, that nobody should be living in this area.
Sally is a French-trained chef and says protesters have seized on the word colonial in the restaurant name, saying it glorifies the racist destruction of cultures subjected to colonialism. The group protesting says it'll be back this coming weekend, trying to end what it perceives as the glorification of colonialism.
The controversial app is called Yik Yak. It essentially allows users to post anything they want anonymously. Now, some of these posts are vulgar, others are racially insensitive.
And so the fact that you guys
holding signs saying we cannot be silent and Black Lives Matter, a large gathering of Lewis and Clark students came together in solidarity against hate.
Hate is should not be allowed here on campus, and people here should be safe. And the school promotes being safe.
The reaction comes after students found hate-filled messages Tuesday afternoon on a social media website called Yik Yak.
The messages are rarely subtle. Flyers from Daily Stormer have repeatedly targeted African Americans and Jewish people, typically using incendiary language designed to make people upset. The latest example seen Saturday, urging people to turn in who they call illegal aliens. What's your reaction to seeing this?
Shocked, because this area, it's a mixed race area. I'm pretty shocked that that's even going on.
Charlena Russo lives just down the street. She says the message hits far too close to home.
My husband, he's Hispanic too, and that's just crazy that those are even up.
Earlier this summer, a separate flyer from the same group also showed up in Lentz, this one blaming Jewish people for the slave trade. But this isn't just a Lentz issue, it's nationwide. Earlier this week, Jamie Balbuena arrived at his home in Nebraska to find the same threat to undocumented immigrants taped to his front door.
I don't know if my kids are safe out here playing anymore, or if they're going to target my kids next while I'm not looking or something.
He's scared.
Is he?
Yeah. I mean, what can we do about it?
A group of students is suing Albany Unified School District after it went after the kids for posting racist memes.
You don't have a First Amendment right to promote a hate crime against a group of people based on their skin color.
It's not a right to discriminate against anyone.
Albany High School participated in a number of rallies and meetings, speaking out against the teen boys' actions. They say the school put them in harm's way a number of times, citing a voluntary meeting where a demonstrator hit two of the disciplined students, leaving scrapes and bruises. But the parents of the victims say their teen girls are the ones who are suffering. And what do you hope happens to the boys?
I hope they get expelled, and they should get expelled.
Signs on the front door of Albany High School show the effort to pull together after several recent racially charged incidents.
Albany for all.
This rally on Sunday was just a part of the healing process after a group of teen boys posted racially offensive photos of their classmates on Instagram that targets African American girls.
This is a hate crime. They hated these girls.
Then there was a group of students walking the halls giving each other a Nazi salute. When the district investigated, they found it had been going on for months. But the vast majority of the student body is standing against the hateful actions. This was a sit-in outside of Albany High School. The pictures posted on Twitter with the hashtag Albany for all. Yesterday, the superintendent sent a letter to parents saying, in part, "We are taking an honest look at the policies, practices, and expectations that will underscore our commitment to safe and welcoming schools for all."
The student newspaper at Lake Oswego High School is drawing attention to acts of racism there committed by students.
Now, the Lake Views paper listed some of the instances of racial rhetoric reported by students this year. They say someone posted online on the class of 2017 page that students could create something called a Ku Klux Club and invite every black kid and, quote, sacrifice them. Also this year, someone put up a poster in the cafeteria depicting Nazis throwing Jewish people into an oven. Instead of taking it down, folks say some students were laughing at it and taking pictures of it.
We saw a Facebook post on our Class of 2017 Facebook page that was very inappropriate and offensive and racial, and we decided to take action on that.
It started a conversation, which I think is the most important thing. We have caused a discussion among other communities. It's an amazing impact to see.
It all started when rumors were circulating about 18-year-old student Caitlin Fink. She's working in the porn industry and was subject to some bullying as a result. The paper wanted to give her the chance to tell her story.
For us, it was all about telling the story of a girl who has struggled since her early teen years to really find her path.
They haven't been students in a long time. They don't know exactly what being a student is like, and they definitely don't understand the cultural climate of teenagers.
Gabriella Bacchus is the paper's editor-in-chief. She says the story is far from sexy. Rather, it gives a real-life glimpse into the life of an 18-year-old girl who had to move out of her parents' house and start paying rent. She turned to porn for money and says it made her feel empowered.
Yeah, you know, Kenny, the Castro is always gussied up and bursting with pride, but this week the rest of the city has caught up and displayed its rainbow colors. They're all ready for the festivities this weekend. Putting together all of the work for just these next few days is a year-long effort. We stopped by the SF Pride headquarters office the other day to see how things were going, and everyone in the office was tasked with getting something done. Expect to see the pink triangle proudly on display from Twin Peaks again for the 23rd year in a row. What was once a symbol used by the Nazis as a way to identify homosexual prisoners, the LGBTQ community has embraced it and uses it as a reminder of how far it's come and what work still needs to be done.
This afternoon, Portland city leaders sent a strong message. They will not tolerate white nationalism in the city.
So they passed a resolution which condemns white supremacist hate groups.
The resolution is a way for city leaders to take a stand when there's been a steady rise in hate crimes. It refers to the city's documented history of white supremacist hate groups and that there's been a recent surge of intimidation and violence against people of color and immigrants. City leaders worked on another way to try and send a message to the alt-right and came up with this resolution. It also calls for training city staff on the history and impact of white supremacy in Portland.
Now, city council members say this is just the first step in combating the hate, but they won't give any details just yet, but they do indicate they've got some plans in the works.